So, do you know what anthology is?
Does anyone know what I'm talking about?
In the sphere of film and media.
Anger is not the way of the gentle.
And even if you don't, you probably still do, right?
But you tell me.
Think Twilight Zone. Do 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 do, don't give me copyright. Do 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 do. Anywho, unlike serialized shows, which are shows that follow a plot or reoccurring characters, right? You don't have to watch episodes or read in order with an anthology series. And I say read as a 5-time published author, so we gotta smuggle books into this, right?
Hey buddy, welcome to the Black Market, your favorite source of information that doesn't come with a squealing chipmunk voice. A good example of an anthology book series is Goosebumps.
Oh, thank you, Grumpy Black Market Man. Goosebumps is a good one. And now that we have our big hitters to the table, we can get into the pros and cons and additional specifics of the anthology style. And I'll give my input on what elements I like to use in my works and how to get the most out of your new knowledge. So, again, to clarify in simple wording, anthology. Every book or episode has brand new characters and completely different stories each time.
It's like really clear.
Not anthology. We continue a story each time from where it left off. Harry Potter just got through year 1 at Hogwarts. Okay, on to year 2. Or sometimes even something as simple like SpongeBob does, making little callbacks to previous episodes and the like. Because if order can affect the experience, it's not anthology. Anywho, so the advantages of writing an anthology book series or an anthology show. Number 1, and this is a big one, you never have to scrap an idea. No, seriously, think about this. Fellow authors and content creators will understand this, but in the creative process, one of the most painful elements is having something really cool that comes to your head that you want to use, right? But you just can't make it fit into your story. Like, it would be so cool if Harry Potter had a fight in the Muggle world using fireworks as a cover for shooting off crazy magical spells, right? But let's say J.K. Rowling comes up with that idea after she's already done her first draft of The Prisoner of Azkaban, and some editing on it too, right? There's just no way for her to work that scene back into the book without messing up the pacing and flow and everything else, right? Or, I don't know, something like that.
So,
when you're dealing with an anthology series and not a serialized series like Harry Potter, where every event has to make sense in the confines of the story, you never really feel any pain from scrapping a cool concept. You can just retake your concept straight away and turn it into an awesome story of its own, as opposed to awkwardly trying to force it into a story it shouldn't be in and ruining both your awesome story and awesome concept at the same time.
So let's think about that.
Alternatively, and let's go into the nitty-gritty for a second, this idea still applies even in a non-anthology setting. Let's say you don't throw an umbrella term over your media, right? Like R.L. Stine did with the Goosebumps books.
Hello, I'm R.L. Stine. I write the Goosebumps books.
Either way, it's still good to know if your focus with your work is going to be series-focused or standalone-focused. Especially with authors like me, though. It's extra interesting because saying Stephen King hits like an umbrella term over all his books in a sense, right? It, The Shining, so on and so forth, people say it's all Stephen King. Almost like it's anthology in its own sort of way. So there's a sense in which people can say I read Goosebumps books and I read books from the Lord of the Rings universe, while others say I read Stephen King. So again, just food for thought really, that authors and media producers should really think about what they want people to be thinking about their work.
ooh!
So just keep that in mind if you're consistent with your themes and writing styles in what you do. just to know that people will probably, in a weird sort of way, kind of think of your work as anthology in its own way, even if you're just doing a bunch of standalone stuff.
Right?
So just keep that in mind if you're consistent with your themes and writing styles in what you do, just to know that people will probably, in a weird sort of way, kind of think of your work as anthology in its own way, even if you're just doing a bunch of standalone stuff. And that's another fun thing you can do with this video, is look at everything I'm saying about anthology and really think to yourself, that also does apply to standalones, does it?
Wait. I'm just too excited.
So we'll really have to come back to that later to make some divisions and really clarify some of the differences. But back to the concept of anthology giving you space to make anything work.
You got proof otherwise, bro? You got empirical evidence?
Take the Twilight Zone, you have It's a Good Life, which is the story of Anthony, a young boy with telekinetic powers and a bad attitude who goes around holding everyone hostage and demolishing them if they don't go along with his wishes.
Would somebody take a lamp or a bottle or something and end this?
You're a bad man. You're a very bad man.
The concept just wouldn't coexist with the events of a Twilight Zone episode like Nightmare at 20,000 Feet. But because it's an anthology series, because every episode is like an entirely new show, different characters, different settings, different plots, you can honor both awesome concepts thanks to the anthology style, without having to start from scratch with figuring out how to get people invested in an entirely different branded series in the first place. It just flows easier. All being under the Twilight Zone moniker and all, you see?
You unlock this door with the key of imagination, the Twilight Zone.
So anthology is a really good style for if you can't stop coming up with conflicting ideas. It's the purest style for a hyper-creative mind to show what it can really do, in a lot of ways. Another pro is that it gives you so many more chances to make a lasting impression on your audience, right? So take, for example, a normal series with a beginning and end. You really have to usually start at the beginning, right? Or else you can't really flow everything else happening. Well, with an anthology series, that is suddenly not your problem, okay? And you have more arrows to snag in your audience.
Now watch what happens.
Maybe I don't like science fiction, right? So I don't want to watch the To Serve Man Twilight Zone episode, which has spaceships and aliens. But maybe I like more grounded episodes on the cruel ironies of life, so I can watch Time Enough at Last and love it. And because I love that, well, suddenly I'm more open to some aliens. More hooks for fish presents more potential fish, like it's really that simple. And does an author's name kind of umbrella either way? Yeah, like we said, a bit for sure. But authors and media producers change tones and themes pretty often to suit various projects, which can scare off consumers. Meaning, an anthology like Twilight Zone or Goosebumps provides extra security for certain, for sure, with keeping your audience, and acts as a confidence to consumers, kind of like a promise, like you saying, this is what we're going to keep consistent with, stuff like this, so you can continue to have what you like, and what this anthology represents.
Oh, isn't that sweet? Isn't that sweet?
And what we've covered are so many little nuances to the discussion. Anthology series, having a serialized series, just writing standalone books or filming different shows.
Listen. Listen up.
Understanding all the varying elements is crucial to producing the best insert media you want to make here, humanly possible. And another big pro is a life story of mine. So I came across Goosebumps in 3rd grade, right?
My heart can't handle this.
Picked one off a shelf in class and started reading. My first ever one was Headless Ghost, and I still remember how cool it was being able to see a ton of Goosebumps books on the shelf and have someone tell me that you can read them in any order. So there I was, flipping around with all the choices in the world until I found what I wanted to try, and because stylistically the tone and feel of the series was a continuation, and I knew I liked it a lot, That also meant I read a lot of Goosebumps stories that followed concepts and stories I wouldn't normally want to read, because again, the anthology style got me in the door, so I was happy to keep eating the cake.
But let me point something out.
I've never had an author's name that kept me going with things I wouldn't normally read, quite like the umbrella of anthologies like Twilight Zone or Goosebumps or Alfred Hitchcock Presents. And that's the magic of an anthology. Or at least just for me personally.
Okay!
Next category, mixed, things that are, maybe a pro, maybe a con. Release, speed, and ease of production. So, with sequels, you have to manage the fine details and complex continuation of character development and motivations. You do not have to do that in Anthology, where you're only following a character and story for a limited amount of time. This part more so is advice and thoughts that apply to other authors like me or applicable media creators. Anywho, always keep in mind what your strengths are.
If you guys have any other questions that you want me to answer.
Maybe continuing complex character motivations and details is a strength, but funneling in great new characters isn't. At that point, a formal, serialized series is much better for you to do. Maybe you can't think of ways to keep a character's arc going, but excel at inventing brand new concepts and ideas. You sound like an anthology hero in training. Either way, keep the mixed aspects in mind.
All right, look, everybody.
Cons. There's for sure some cons of having no backbone to rely upon. Having to establish stakes and build the reader's love for your new main character entirely from scratch every single time.
Oh my!
And all these varying degrees that have to be juggled make an anthology series a lot easier to have fall apart than a regular series, in a lot of ways. So take Harry Potter, right? Each book tends to get noticeably bigger in word count, each book is able to get away with asking for more and more commitment from you, one reason coming from a simple matter. The more you stick with one character or one story, the more it typically means to you, and after investing 3 books worth of reading into Harry Potter, you just love Harry Potter, right? So you're more apt to slog through if you're not feeling it with the Goblet of Fire or the Half-Blood Prince or something, right?
We're doing another one. That was insane!
But you don't get to go through any length of journey like that with anthology series like Twilight Zone or Goosebumps.
That's not fair.
So if you go into Barnes & Noble, pick up a Goosebumps book to try and give it a chapter or 2 to read while your mother picks out something for her, and you don't like the main character or something about the story, well, you might be incentivized to try a different Goosebumps book, but not really to stick with whatever main character you just weren't feeling for a chapter or 2, because you love the series, not some random kind of meh setup from one book out of 50 that you do not need to read.
Okay. Let's do another one.
And I love so many Twilight Zone episodes, but I love the episodes, right? I'm just not so enthralled with William Shatner's character in Nightmare at 20,000 Feet that I always talk about him or go around apt to buy merch with that character's face on it, quoting him and the like, right?
Here, quickly! There's a man out there.
I'm just a silly guy at times.
And I'm talking about Mr. Shatner's character because his acting work was fantastic. And I keep saying his character because actually I don't even know his character's name now that I think about it in that episode. And that's the issue. When me and family talk about Goosebumps, we say things like the Mask episode.
You're going to see one of my favorite stories come alive. The Haunted Mask.
We say things like the Dummy episode.
Get her, you sorry sack of sawdust, get her!
But we don't say the Trina and Zane episode.
Alright, now we each roll 1 die, and the highest number goes first.
Ah! The concept is what you fall in love with Anthology, not really the characters. And I'm actually just blown away now thinking about how few characters I can name from Goosebumps or Twilight Zone or Alfred Hitchcock Presents, when those are some of the things I watch the most in the world to this day. And this bleeds into a secondary issue: faces, marketability. Anthology just gives you no poster children.
That is a reflection of you.
Alfred Hitchcock and Rod Serling themselves are the poster children, really. Look at the show listings on any streaming service, it's always their faces, right? And we usually don't see merchandising of Anthology go anywhere like with other media of the same success. And it would be brutal to try to go on a monster merchandising run around a character from one episode. Like, it's going to be a little goofy if you make Anthony the poster child and then he's literally in one episode of the entire series.
And you mustn't think bad thoughts about me either, or I'll do the same thing to you.
Even think of Goosebumps. The real poster child is the green Goosebumps logo with slime running off it. That heavily takes away potential merchandising and connection with your audience in a lot of ways when you don't have an Obi-Wan that you can throw on video games and shirts and quote like crazy and go on and on and on and on with.
Hello there.
But as much as an Obi-Wan is a weapon, if you keep writing story after story with X or Y great character in a serialized series, at some point that's bound to burn away from the original ending or original defining moments of the character and to negatively impact a perfect legacy at that point. That means your big thing you have to capitalize on as an anthology series or writer to keep up and keep relevant is sheer brute force of volume.
Is this not going to get insane?
Obi-Wan's story can't go on forever, but you can throw out excellent stories around Jim, Joe, Jill, and Jenna, and whoever else after until you're ready to call it a day.
I did an avocado commercial once.
Long after X or Y's story from a serialized series is done, and anything else is just a de-evolution of that arc.
Avocado!
So while other series don't know when to stop and keep demeaning themselves in that way, you are the one who can keep going eternally since you don't have an original ending or characters to worry about. Every episode is entirely new for Anthology, right?
And I'll just go ahead and show it now as we begin the total destruction, right? So,
but again, the conundrum, because this is the con section after all. You need volume and you have to nail it in way more ways than serialized series has to, which can get by at times just off sheer love people have for an Obi-Wan or a Gandalf, which puts a lot of pressure on you as an anthology creator to keep pulling magic time and time and time again, and also, might I say, also not to get too repetitive with your stories or similar. Let's be honest though, there's a lot of one-hit wonders in the authoring world, music, film, so on and so forth. So being able to keep firehosing magic for Anthology really is a lot tougher done than said. Or I guess typically the phrase is said than done either way.
What is he doing? He's crazy, huh?
Definitely one of the reasons we don't see much of them. Just too much that has to go right and too many ideas in one basket for not enough upside, as a lot of producers have told me they see it.
Consistent and honest right here.
So there's definitely a lot to grasp with the anthology style. Personally, I'm a hybrid writer and my approach is kind of weird. In my 5-book series, the first 4 have entirely different main characters, right? The 4th works entirely as a standalone if you wish. The 1st and 2nd follow 2 separate leads in the main timeline, and you could skip the pre-main timeline books if you so wanted. Meanwhile, the 3rd and 5th connect together for their own self-contained story if you wish, with also each character's journey adding to the overall narrative of the chess game, being played between angels and demons with humans as the pawns, our various main characters specifically.
That's perfect.
Moral of the story, you can read them in any order you want, sort of like an anthology series. while still having technically a serialized series. You can read or not read really whatever and never miss a beat, and that's a way that was really important for me to write so that my audience can have the awesome experience Twilight Zone and Goosebumps gives of giving someone the keys to every door in the kingdom and freedom to explore on their own.
Okay. But guys, here's the thing.
It's a magical concept to me, and that's just an example of what a hybrid anthology series can look like.
I was like getting somewhere with that.
And it all goes to show that you don't have to necessarily pick or choose one style or another to hinge your career on. You can experiment, you can form your own hybrid style, all that good stuff.
What are you kidding me? You're joking! You're joking! You're joking! You're joking! You're absolutely joking!
So hopefully today's video was interesting if you're not in entertainment, and if you are, hopefully it gives you some daily nourishment for the creative parts of your mind. We went into a lot today, and there's always so much more that can be gone over, but we definitely did a good job condensing the discussion. Huh. What's your favorite type of storytelling? And let us know in the comments if you want to cover something else concerning creativity and entertainment. Love you all. Lights out.